Hello, this is Ampere with the first video of Project M, which is going to stand for Project Macro Mode. Um, First off, I'm not a pro. I'm a mid-master player. Just want to share my experience in build orders, especially to low league players. Because PvT has been somewhat of a problem to me. PvC as well, but PvT, I really don't know what to do. Normally in Wings of Liberty, you would go 3-gate robo as a standard build and pressure at the front, but it's kind of hard to do that right now because they got widow mines at the front ramp or ramp leading down from your natural, and if you try to aggressively expand against a Terran, he's just gonna pick you apart with speed medevacs, and if you go 3-gate robo, you're not really that mobile. So I think the Protoss needs to invent some new stuff right now, and a couple of weeks ago on State of the Game, I heard Artosis and I want to say the Agnes talk about some sick greedy play that's coming out of Korea right now. And I started having fun with the build, and I think that I got it down as well as I can. I think I made some small changes to fit me, but like this is not my build. This is Artosis build, or I don't know, some kid in Korea's build. I don't know. But I think it's a pretty cool, it's a pretty safe way to macro in PvT, but it's also kind of a fun small timing that you're hitting. The basics of the build is if you're gonna drop DTs while you're taking to Colossus, you're gonna go double forge and you're only gonna go off 2 gates while preparing to take your third. Sounds kind of crazy, but it's actually pretty safe due to the mothership core that can protect you from early game stuff. Some Terran builds going to negate this DT drop if they get towers up or they're going for quick Raven. But even if you do 0 damage with your DTs, you're going to be ahead in tech. You're going to be definitely going to be ahead in upgrades, and at worst, you're going to be even in economy. So I don't think this is some form of an all-in build just because it's a DT drop. This is a relatively safe way to go into the mid game with some serious upgrade advantage. And just so I don't forget, if you like the video, or if you have constructive criticism, or you have a specific matchup that you want help with, I'll be planning on doing PvC if you guys like the first videos. Please tweet at me at amperesc2@twitter.com, or just type something in the thread on Reddit that I made for this. So let's just jump right through it. Let's see here. So in this video, or the first replay that I'm going to go through, I'm going to be playing against an easy computer. Oh, a very easy computer. So this guy's not going to know what the hell he's doing, probably. But I'm just going to explain the very basics of the build. It's not particularly hard opening at all, actually, and you're gonna spend a lot of time in your main anyway. So if you're a bomber that is all around the map, I presume this is gonna be harder. But you're gonna be in your main a lot, watching your main, except when you're scouting with your probe. Building a gateway, you can probably speed this up a little bit more. Getting your first gas out and your second pylon, and you're going to start your second gas after your cybercore is completed. Let's just take a second here and pause. What you make out of this first gateway depends solely on what you're seeing with your probe. Now I saw gas, but this guy is a very easy computer, so this doesn't mean anything actually, but in a real game this means a lot. Let's just say, for the sake of the tutorial, that I didn't see any gas, and I saw a command center right here. Because I think this is the most standard thing. Maybe you haven't seen the command center yet, but if you scout no gas, and only one racks, naked racks, he could either be all-inning you or making an expansion, and an expansion is more probable. So we're going to pretend that I didn't see any gases at all. After the cybercore is completed, you're going to take your second gas, And if you want to go and take an expansion directly, or if you want to create another pylon first, doesn't really matter. It's personal preference, I suppose. But with the probe that is making your creating your Nexus, it's also going to be the one building your Twilight Council. So it's going to be cybercore into Nexus, and when you start in Nexus, the same probe is going to make your Twilight Council. It's going to line up pretty nice with your resources you're going to have. And when the Twilight Council is about 60 to 70% complete, you want to create your robotics facility. And what I do in this game is actually pretty stupid. I create a sentry as my third unit. I have my zealot and my stalker, and now I create a sentry. Against a normal player, I would not do this. I would get a mothership core out, because you never know. Like the wide range of Terran shit that he can pull his early game is just ridiculous. He can do a lot of different stuff, and you want your mothership core out. This is very essential to the build. And I'm gonna build it very late now, but I wanted to try if I could just see. So I wanted to try to see if I could get a sentry out and just start accumulating energy and see if I could hell off a push anyway. But like, there's not gonna be a push at this game. It's 540 into the game, and he has 1200, 600 banked. But yeah, so that was pretty stupid. I'm gonna get a mothership core out, which I'm gonna do in the next replay, and I do on the ladder. Because you can only afford one of them, because you're hurting for both gas and minerals right now. As soon as your Twilight Council is complete, you want to start your DT Shrine as soon as possible. And when you start your DT Shrine, you also want to start your second gateway. So I use like a form of a mental checklist. Like when I do one thing, I do another thing. So when I start my DT Shrine, I want to start a gateway right away. So let's just pause here quick at 6:30, so you can see some sort of a macro benchmark. I'm going to put this in the description for you too, if you want to try it out, try to build out and see if you're having somewhat of a success. Your Nexus should be complete, and you transfer your probes, but it's not as important, but you want to transfer some probes at least. Your DT Shrine is on the way. Your second gateway is on the way. Your first warp gate, your first gate is being turned into a warp gate, and your robotics is finishing up. And you should have your mothership core out. This is what's happening in your base. At 6:30, you really want to know if this guy is building an expansion or not. He is not, because, well, yeah. But a normal player will build his command center a lot faster than this. So if you have your probe here, you should poke in and out and see if there's a command center. If the probe dies, if he gets shut in here, or if he catches you, you have to go out with your zealot and your stalker and try and poke in to see if there's an expansion here. If you don't know if there's an expansion here, you don't know what he's doing, because you cannot get an observer out right away. You cannot scout in any other form this early. So you have to get in with your zealot and stalker if you don't see the command center. But I'm presuming that he goes command center. We're just not going to give a shit about this easy computer. As soon as your robotics finishing up, you want to chrono out your warp prism as soon as possible. As soon as possible. There we go. And the reason is that you want it to have come as far as possible when the DT Shrine is complete. So you can, like, if the DT Shrine completes when you're over here, that is very nice, because you're going to hit an earlier timing than if you have to stop and the DTs are here, basically. So this is going to line up pretty okay, I suppose. And I also bring an observer out, and the reason I bring an observer out is that I hit like twice, I think, on the NA master scene some form of a marine widowmine timing. And there's my mothership core coming out a little bit late, but that was about 8 or 9 minutes, a 9 or 10 minute push even, I think, with the widowmine and marines. So that's why I was gonna see if I could get my mothership core out in time for that push, and I think I will actually. But you still want a mothership core before your sentry. Yeah. But that's the reason for the observer if he brings, and also if he likes to go banshees, cloak banshees. This is actually going to be out in time to spot him. You have the mothership core, then you go to the Nexus cannon. This SV is always scouting my DTs. That's pretty cool. He's warped into DTs over here or over here someplace, and now I'm dropping in his base. And again, we're disregarding that this computer doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and this is probably going to be game over since he has 2 Marines and a Marauder. But I want to drop 1 in the main and 1 in the natural. He doesn't have a natural, but still. And as soon as my warp prism is completed, I'm starting my double forge. I'm starting my double forge as soon as possible. And when I go in, I'm going to start getting a lot of minerals. And that's when you want to drop your 3 gates. So you go up to a total of 5. I usually go up to a total of 6 actually. So I should drop 1 more. I know I don't do this replay, but that's a mistake on my part. And I also have 4 people in gas. That's not the way to go. So you start your 3 gates and start your double upgrades, and you also want to throw down your robotics facility as soon as possible. I suppose when I have the minerals for it. I hope I do that someplace. Yeah, right here. That's a little bit late maybe, but it doesn't really matter all that much because your DTs will probably do some damage. Let's say that this DT doesn't get 26 kills. When you drop in here, he actually has a tower up here and a tower up here. What can you do? That is when most people leave and don't do anything. But I think you can do something with them anyway, because they usually have stuff over here, and they usually wall in, but they usually don't have vision right here. So you go in here and harass, you force them to be in his base. This is basically what you want to do with this DT. So you don't have to do a lot of damage with this. The only thing you need to do is to keep the Terran in his base so you can macro up. So don't focus too much time like microing these DTs. Just try and keep him in his base and make sure that you macro up. And in this game, I went for a pretty early third. Normally, I wait over a minute before I take my third, which you will see in the next replay where I actually play a real Terran. But I mean, I felt pretty safe doing that. But it's not. This is not what you want to do. You want to wait for your gateways, and you want to have at least a solid round of warp in, and you first Colossus out before you go and take your third. Because if he pushes me now, if you do 0 damage with your DTs, and he's like, well, DT drop, gotta be an all-in, I'm gonna push you. If he pushes me here, he can't kill me with a straight up Marine Marauder, even if he has Medivacs. If I have 1 Colossus out, there's no way. And I didn't even use my warp gates, meaning that I can have a full, maybe even 2 rounds of warp-ins and a Colossus and a Nexus cannon before he arrives. So I'm not scared at all. But you do want those 1 or 2 rounds of warp-ins before you go and take your third, because you cannot take your Colossus out and fight in the open that early. You need more gateway stuff for that. So that was everything we can gather from this replay, play-wise. When it comes to creating or like sim sitting your main, I like to keep my forges away from the Terran. I never put my, well, I never should put my dudes sometimes, but you really shouldn't. Don't keep your forges over here, even over here. I suppose that's a little bit safer, but don't keep them close to the Terran airwise. Keep them in a safe spot. I think this will be the most safe spot in my main. Maybe this even is the more safer spot, but this is really safe. And I also try to clump things up so there's no holes in it. Let's say I'm going to put a pylon between my robotics bay and DT shrine. This is a place where he can drop, and you don't want that because then your zealots can't attack him basically. Should you proxy your dark shrine? I don't know. I mean, I don't. I never do that. because if he scans, like in the early game, he scans Twilight and a Robo with nothing researching, he's going to know that you're not going to blink. He's going to know that you're not going to charge. So the only thing you can do is either go fast, like proxy high Templars, or you're going to go DTs, which is the obvious choice. So then your proxy is not really going to accomplish anything. And I suppose you could proxy both the Twilight and the DT. But to me, that is more of an all-in move, actually. If you start proxying buildings, I mean, I wanted to get a solid macro early game timing to come, so you can really macro up at home. And I have a hard time feeling that you can make this a standard build if you're gonna start proxying like you tech buildings. I don't really like that. You can do that if you want to do it, surprise somebody, but I don't do that. As for where you allocate your chrono boost, this is going to go solely on the probes in the early game. As soon as you get your forges up, you want to chrono boost them forges. I always save one chrono boost. Now I'm being kind of sloppy. I should be using those chrono boosts a lot better, but I think this game is pretty over. You want to keep your energy down, but I never, almost never, like after 7-8 minutes, when I start getting my forge, maybe at 8:30, something like that, I don't use all of my chrono boosts. I try to watch before I use it, so I have at least one left. And I think this is pretty important, because if there's a drop here and you have like 50% left on your warp gate's cooldown, if you just warp one of them, you can get a sell it out or a stalker out, and you can just try and buy time until the rest of them are completed. Or you can chrono boost that Colossus, the last bit of a Colossus. Even if you have a pretty good army, you want to maybe chrono boost the armor, so you can if the armor is really close to completing. So I always save one, but this is a little bit too much. But then again, I thought this game was pretty over. As for when you take your Templar tech, I'm going to talk about this more in the next replay, but I always take my Templar, create my Templar archive when I take my third, basically. If I haven't seen ghosts, like a ghost push from him, but given that I start Colossus, and he is going to scan and watch and find this out. And when he does, he's going to go like if you go ghost versus Colossus, you just go and kill him, I suppose. That doesn't happen, unfortunately. So yeah, we're going to be jumping into the next game pretty soon. There's going to be a second video up on YouTube. Again, if you liked it, if you have constructive criticism, please tweet or write in the Reddit thread. It's probably better. I know that the second video is very long. It's 35, 36 minutes or something, and I thought about doing it shorter, but I don't think I will. I think it's a pretty good video, what I'm trying to show you. So if you're like in bronze or silver and you just want to get this down, you watch this replay and watch this again and just focus on when I put down the buildings, or look at the Word document that I'm going to put up on YouTube in the description. But watch the first 6-7 minutes of the next video, and then you go and try it out a couple of times and see, well, I do get to the mid-game, or I don't. Well, what did I do wrong? And when you start getting to the mid-game, you're ready to take a third, watch the next video. Because that is actually a very, very powerful 2-2 and a 3-3 timing that is very hard for the turn to stop. So, thanks for watching these videos. Well, I hope you watch this video anyway. Otherwise, this was all for nothing. And again, if you want me to do another video, another matchup, just let me know. Because I won't be doing these videos if nobody's watching them, basically. So, thanks for now.